Good evening and welcome to season 2, episode 5 of the Pack Homer podcast. I'm here with my buddies Wes and Adam. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about this weekend's upcoming games against Fordham and some of the news we've got this week in terms of our rotation, and then just discuss a little NC State baseball. Before we get started, wanted to introduce ourselves to some of our newer listeners. Somehow, believe it or not, the first 4 episodes of season 2 have been our most listened to episodes ever. I don't really know how we got here, but it probably helped that we had AMAC, Brandon Butterworth, and Sam Highfield on the show. Want to say thank you again to those guys. They were all awesome. If you guys have not listened to those episodes with those 3 young men, I will say that all of them are great representatives of our programs. I think that they all offer some interesting commentary, and I'd encourage you to check them out if you get the opportunity. You can find our podcast, those episodes, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. So definitely would encourage you to check those guys out. So again, before we get into talking about baseball, I wanted to introduce ourselves. I'll go first, and then I'll go to Wesley and Adam here. I'm Cal Parker, NC State grad, 2006. I work in the ag business. I just love NC State. My dad graduated from State. My father-in-law graduated from State. My brothers and sisters went to State. So just been a State fan for a long time, and really love NC State baseball. Is my favorite sport. So that's how we kind of got to talking about it. Had the idea for this is all 3 of us are big NC State boys. Little interesting fact about the 3 of us. I think if you add up the population combined of the 3 towns that we grew up in, I don't think it equals 2,500. So that's a little interesting commentary for you, but we're just we all work in the ag industry, but NC State grads and love baseball. Wesley?
Yeah, like Cal, I'm from Duplin County, specifically Magnolia. Grew up a mile from Cal's house. Also in the ag business. I'm on the protein side, as you know, compared to these guys on the produce side. But similar to Cal, NC State, lifelong NC State fan, and just a big supporter of NC State baseball.
Adam?
Adam Litch. Like these guys, I graduated from NC State in the College of Ag, class of 2005, in ag business. Cal already mentioned him and I both work in the produce business. Started right when I got out of state. Live in Florida now. Cal mentioned from a small town in Robinson County, Robco represent. So humble part of the state. Proud to be from there though, and big NC State fan. My dad went to state, big NC State fan. The reason why I love him so much because of him, and like these guys, NC State baseball, really ever since I was in college has become my favorite sport. I started attending games, had buddies that played after football was over for me, and just really started to like it. That and wrestling both, but just really love baseball, and baseball's always been my favorite sport. But I really like NC State baseball, and just really have enjoyed following it over the last 20 years or so, and it's been a lot of fun. I feel like to some extent there's a lot of responsibility on our shoulders covering this sport now that the situation we find ourselves in with basketball and some other programs. It's been a tough ride this year, so we're looking forward to getting back on the diamond to a sport that we know we're got a chance to compete in.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, Adam, if you're tuning in for the first time, and and you're wondering why we started the NC State baseball podcast, I'd say the number one reason is that we didn't feel like anyone really covered baseball full time. And I understand if you're a full time journalist that basketball and football pay the bills, and obviously there's a lot more traffic following those programs, and we used to sit and fuss and moan on text threads about the baseball team for years before we started doing it, and then now, as you've seen, kind of nationally, podcasts are a pretty easy way to share what you want to share with the masses. I'd say that another thing that kind of attracted us to it is not being journalists. We can kind of say what we want to say. We're not always politically correct. We're not the most tech savvy, but this gives us a good platform to just sit and talk ball, and that's what we really enjoy doing. So it's kind of spread by word of mouth. It's kind of been pretty organic in nature, where we started out with like 3 followers. I think all 3 of us are married, and so that we started out with about 3 followers, and before we knew it, we had 5, and we're kind of we've kind of grown a little bit. Still don't have as many as we'd like, but do appreciate everybody that follows us on Instagram, again at PackHomerPod, same on X, and follows us on whether it be Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. So if you're tuning in for the first time, go pick us up over there, and we'll try to give you some at least weekly baseball content. So this week we got some news before we even came on. I don't know if you're a baseball fan, you might have gotten an email from the Wolfpack Club around 8:00 tonight that the series this weekend with Fordham, we were supposed to play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They have moved that series now to a doubleheader on Friday, which right now has the best predicted forecast, and then 1 game on Saturday. So right now in the Friday game, first pitch for game 1 will be at 11 a.m. I'm looking for a little clarity myself on whether or not they're going to honor the College World Series team before game 1 or before game 2. Game 2 will be the 3:00 game. That was the original scheduled start time for game 1 of the series. So if you're just tuning in and you plan on making it out to the Doak, just know that game 1 will start at 11 a.m. So we haven't done an extensive amount of research on Fordham. Fordham, though, we do know some fun facts about them. Adam, you want to tell them the first one we learned today from our buddy Alex G? I think it kind of led you down a rabbit hole of doing a little research yourself. But
Yeah, so Fordham, interestingly enough, Fordham has been playing baseball for 164 seasons, and they're the all-time winningest program in college baseball history by more than 1,000 games. And the other fact that our buddy Alex pointed out was that Florida State is in the top 5 longest seasons played with, I think, 77. And Fordham's been playing 164 years. They don't have a lot of recent success, but for Texas, I think Texas was number 2. For Texas to make up 1,000 games on them, it's going to take a. I was thinking about Coach Avent won 1,000 games at state in over 28 years. It'd take a long time to make up that, even with having a pretty atrocious record. So as of late, but yeah, pretty amazing for them to be playing baseball for that long.
And they're from the Bronx. Their home field is in the Bronx. They were probably looking forward to some good weather coming to Raleigh this weekend, but unfortunately, we are not going to be able to greet them with the sunny skies and 70 degrees that we had this past weekend. So Fordham is in the Atlantic 10 Conference. They last year, I believe, were a 19-win team. They have a third baseman, Daniel Bisario, who is their best player. Hit 311 last year, stole 25 bases. Uh, Played in the Cape Cod League, which, if you're not familiar with, is the best summer collegiate league in America. Um, but they're a ball club that, recruiting wise, from an NIL standpoint, the league they play in, some of the challenges they have with weather. I mean, quite honestly, they should be outmatched this weekend. Will we all agree that if it's not a 3-0 or 2-0 series sweep, that we're going to be disappointed? Can we start with that, Wesley?
Yeah, I say so, but I mean, the this winter, man, it's been the weather's been brutal. I live at the beach. We've had 4 inches of snow. Right now it's 37 degrees and raining. It's cloudy. So, some of the early season advantages we maybe have on some of the northeastern teams, maybe not. Maybe they have the advantage, from being used to the weather. And I know the weather's going to be kind of cruddy this weekend as well. So, hopefully we can get out of this thing 3-0 and avoid any type of muscle hamstring type injuries.
Yeah, you're always kind of scared to muck it up in ugly weather and cold weather, and we have a lot of new faces on the NC State roster that will be making their first appearances in the NC State uniform. Wouldn't expect a ton of nerves, but um, yeah, you're always kind of nervous what could happen. And if you've watched enough college baseball, you see, like, in game one of a lot of regionals every year, number four seeds, either beating the number one seed or giving them all they want, because baseball is such a funny game like that. But uh, some more news that came out this week. I want to talk about the rotation. I think there's been a lot of talk in the all season. Episode 1, when we kind of did a roster preview, we talked about Jacob Duden maybe being a possible starter. Jackson Lucas maybe filling one of those roles. Whether or not Matt Wilson would be healthy enough to start the season in the rotation. And the rotation did come out this week for this weekend series. It looks like Dom Fritton is going to start game 1, which I don't know now if he's starting at 11 o'clock or 3 o'clock. But Dom Fritton was slated to be our Friday starter. Sophomore Heath Andrews, our Saturday starter, and Ryan Marone, a left-hander, our Sunday starter. I think Marone and Fritton were both guys that we kind of had penciled into our rotation. I'm pretty excited to see Andrews on the mound. I feel like we must have a lot of confidence in him to reward him with that. There's a lot of guys obviously would like that opportunity. Not to say that he doesn't take this role and run with it, but he also has to feel like it's a pretty good audition to maybe find his way into the weekend rotation and take it and run with it, because I think that the consensus probably among a lot of people is that if Matt Willison is healthy, that and is anything like he was pre-injury, that he moves back into that role. What did you guys think about the decision to put Heath in the rotation this weekend?
I I I feel like it's pretty interesting. I mean, I think it just speaks to the depth that we have in the staff overall. I did see that D1 um, also came out this week with their list of top 150 starting pitchers, and all three of these guys are in the top 150. Dom is at 87, Marone is at 98, and Heath Andrews they have is 137. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. You're talking about having all three opening series starters in the D1 top 150 is pretty impressive with how many teams there are out there and playing D1 baseball. So I think that's pretty impressive. Obviously, those guys and the coaching staff have seen a lot out of Andrews to entrust him with that role, especially based on what we saw from Consiglio last year, and we talked about Duden. I mean, I think the fact that D1 baseball has him as the number one overall reliever, um, you know, speaks to the stuff that we've been, talking about that we know he has and potentially has, and how excited we are to see him in a sophomore campaign this year. So, but yeah, I think it says a lot about the confidence the staff has in him, especially with the other pieces that we know that could fill in. That it's not like, especially with um, the interview that Avent did in the last couple of days, talking about Willitson and his progress and how he look. I think Avent says, he looks unbelievable, and pitched 2 innings and in the inter squad, and looks great, yada yada yada. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for him to take the field. I hope that Andrew shines. I really do. I think it just makes us that much deeper in the pen, and gives us a even better midweek option, which is something that I felt like at times we were lacking last year. With just with youth, not lack of talent, but just the youth, the inexperience that we probably had. But man, it's just it's pretty impressive that he could earn that spot after with all the other options that we have.
Yeah, I was looking at his summer league schedule. So last year he had an 11.57 ERA in 9.1 innings. He made a start. I don't know if you guys remember. He started the Louisville
Louisville.
game. Yeah, we were pretty banged up on the road there in the middle of the season with Whitaker, having an illness, and Sam unable to go, I believe, that weekend, and he made a spot start. One of the things that kind of hindered him a little bit last year was that in 9 innings of work, he had 8 walks and 6 strikeouts. But it kind of looks like he figured that out this summer. He threw 17 innings in the Cape. Again, best summer league in America. Had 16 strikeouts and got that walk number down to 5 over 17 innings. And then, I think we read in the fall he was up above 95 mile an hour in several of his appearances. So, Wesley, what do you think about that decision? Is that who you expected, or?
Yeah, I don't know that I was. It's the first series of the year, so I guess we're not putting a whole lot of stock into it. But I think to Adam's point, just the depth and competition, and bring your lunchbox to work, because if you're not performing, someone else is ready to step into that starting rotation. And I'm sure there's a whole lot of pitching staffs in the country that would like to have that problem and the type of depth that we appear to have going into the season.
Yeah, and I'd say that we had kind of been hearing the last couple of weeks. So if you're not familiar with, you know, preseason college baseball and how you prepare going into a season, one, all starters have to get up to a certain pitch count that the staff's comfortable with. And, the number I'm assuming that Matt Willitson is probably somewhere around that 40 to 50 pitch barrier right now, which is really not um, the starter threshold. Even I think if you were going to roll him out weekend one, you'd want him to be able to throw 60 to 75 pitches. Um, we kind of heard that Andrews was going a little longer at practice and some of those inner squads. So I don't think it totally caught the three of us off guard. Also, I think too, when you look at our Tuesday game next week, which we'll talk about a little bit. Sunday night we play Liberty. I think Liberty is going to be a really good matchup early on, especially in a midweek game. It's a game that we hope our depth, whether it be Cooper Consiglio that starts that midweek game, or there's probably going to be somebody, I'd say, this weekend that we kind of expect to throw that maybe doesn't throw very much or only throws a bullpen, throws an inning, so that they can start that midweek game, which is pretty common at the beginning of the season. And, I kind of fully expected if Andrews goes out and throws the ball really well that he'll get another opportunity to do it. And between the three of those guys starting, Marone, Dom, and Heath, I think that if any of them go out and struggle, I wouldn't be surprised that next week when we go down to Jacksonville and play Ohio State, Coastal, and Alabama, if we mix it up. All right. So we talked about our pitching staff. I wanted to talk a little bit about our lineup. We expect that we're gonna be able to pitch a little bit. I hope we're right about that. But as far as our offensive production, what are you guys' question marks this weekend? I assume we'll see multiple lineups. Who are you really excited to see? And hope to have some questions answered about as we go into Series 1.
I'm excited to see Hogue healthy, right? And then, it'll be exciting to see Sosa and Nixon, bigger, stronger, faster. Uh, we saw Bechtel during football season. He's a pure monster. Um, so I mean, just excited to see what the off-season workout and nutrition program and all these guys have again gotten bigger, stronger, and faster. So I mean, every uh, guest we've had on the show said, the hitting is not going to be an issue. We always hit, so it'll be you know, not a whole lot of questions there, but just excited to see the progress these guys have made in the off season.
Adam?
Well, and to hear them talk about Drew Lamphere's got me excited about seeing him too. I think there's no
Yeah,
question that
Lanfear.
he's going to be our DH when he's not got the catching duties that game, or when he's not rotating with Sosa, I guess. But yeah, I'm excited to see Lamphere based on what all our guests were telling us about him. How excited they were about him. So I'm looking forward to that. And Hogue, I mean, Hogue's a guy that I said early on. He was just a real key piece of our team last year. Before we had really kind of got it all figured out, he seemed like he was one of the more steady spots in the lineup. I mean, obviously Amac and Pennington were consistent, but Hogue was just really reliable
He was hitting
there.
314, when he went out.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
yeah. So anyway, I'm excited to see him back. I think that was just such a nasty injury, man, and um, I'm grateful he's getting the opportunity to come back and hopefully be healthy and kind of pick up where he left off. So I'm excited to see Hogue and Lamphere and then all these other guys, man. I just don't know what to expect. We hear good things out of like Ozenfort and McHugh, and it's just going to be exciting to see where that kind of shakes out in the lineup early on.
Yeah, I think that there's a phrase in baseball, 5 o'clock hitter. That's the guys that look like all Americans at 5 o'clock, but then when the lights come on, don't necessarily uh, don't necessarily look the same at 7 as they do 5. But um, I've heard so many different things this fall, so many good things about a lot of these guys, and I think Coach Aviant's got a really tough job. I mean, I don't know how you write the lineup. Obviously you want to keep guys plugged in and invested early in the season, especially guys that you think are going to contribute. But a lot of guys that think that they probably have earned the right to have a shot in the lineup, but you can't play but 8 guys at a time, or 9 if you count the DH. You can only put 9 guys out there on the field or in the batter's box at any one time, and I think that's going to be hard to figure out. I think there's certain positions on the field. I don't think there's a question. I think that barring something crazy, that Luke Nixon's going to play second base. Justin DeCrisco is going to play shortstop. Alex Sosa is going to catch or DH, and Drew Lamphere, is probably going to catch anytime Sosa doesn't. But even when you look at Austin Fort and McHugh, who kind of takes that and runs with it, and is if one of those guys isn't playing first base, or are they battling it out to get some DH at bats? Ty Head's a name that we've heard a lot about in the outfield. He's one of the most highly recruited freshmen that we've ever brought in. He's a big kid, 6'3", left-handed stick, and but we've heard really good things about Jet Gilliam. You look at Braden Frostman, another guy. Him and Bechtel and Trent Lyons. Those are all guys that you feel like or expect to see some at bats, and will see some at bats early, and who seizes that opportunity to keep getting their name penciled in on the lineup card. Another name is Matt Hebner. I mean, Matt Hebner started in the College World Series. and he's in a battle, presumably with between Luke Nixon at second base, Ryan Jarrett. He's a guy that you want on your team because he can do a lot of different things. He can play third base, he can play second base. I presume he can probably play shortstop. He's pretty dang good defensively. DeCrisco, I think, DeCrisco, our shortstop who transferred in. I think has been kind of battling a nagging injury, and we don't really know if he's 100% yet. So, Hebner's a guy that you expect to be in the mix. And, if any of those guys that we just mentioned go out and, go 8 for 12 this weekend, you kind of, the expectation is that they stay in the lineup. So a lot of tough decisions early in the season for Coach Avent. I shouldn't say tough decisions. A lot of good problems to have. But, obviously at the end of the day, the burden falls on him to kind of figure out who those 9 guys are. Because if you've watched NC State baseball long enough, by the end of the year, that pool gets narrower and narrower. And, going in late into the season and ACC play and into the conference tournament, you've really kind of narrowed that down.
Yeah, and Hebner's a good name. I mean, that's if you think about the lineup card, when you see Hebner out there, you're like, that doesn't, you don't blink an eye. He's a solid player, and we talk about the newcomers come in, but hell, there's a solid guy there that kind of gets lost in the mix that we really haven't talked about a lot. I mean, if I saw Hebner in the starting lineup on Friday, I wouldn't have a second thought about it, and that's a really good problem to have.
Yeah, and I think this other kid, we got a freshman, Ryder Woodson, who kid from South Florida. He's like 6'2", 185, but he might be interesting to see where he falls in the mix if he gets any playing time in the infield, because I mean he was like a top 30 Florida high school shortstop. Another good kid that there's a lot of chatter out there about him. Where is he? Where will he find the field at some point? That'll be interesting to see in some of these early games, some of these early series. Kind of setting things up for conference play, because you're going to in this sport you're going to have some injuries at some point, and hopefully nothing as serious as some of the ones we experienced last year. But anyway, it's going to be a good opportunity for some guys to get some playing time early on, hopefully.
Yeah, talking about Hebner, Wes, I mean, he's a guy that's a junior. He has played in 53 ball games. He started 33, got 137 plate appearances. And then last year, we talk about his defense. He had a 981 fielding percentage, as a middle infielder and third baseman. So, yeah, definitely a guy that,
Gosh, I didn't remember him starting 33 games, though. I mean, I remember him playing.
He started 29 last year. He started 4 as a true freshman.
Wow. Yeah.
So, as a guy that's played a lot of baseball.
Yeah, for sure.
Trent Lyons is a guy I've been honestly really excited about. I try not to look at where they come from because you can't read but so much into that. But he transferred in from Ole Miss, and it's not even the fact that he came from Ole Miss that excites me. It's the fact that the guy plays in the outfield,
played so many positions,
catches, and he's played shortstop this summer. Like, how many guys can catch, play shortstop, and play the outfield? I mean, that to me, there's something there. And
Can he play point guard?
Can he run the
point? Does he know how to execute the pick and roll?
Oh gosh!
And he also switch hits. So, he's a guy that I'm kind of excited to see. And then you look at a lot of these names we've mentioned. So a lot to figure out there. Talking about ACC play, which I talked about, trying to have a lineup set by the end. The ACC came out and they have announced that they've changed their tournament structure. The ACC tournament, if you guys are familiar with it, they have pool play, and basically if you were the number 1 seed in your pool, depending on how the matchups worked out, you could basically win 1 game and find yourself in the Final Four of the ACC tournament. If there was an upset, you may have to win 2 games, but you could go 1-1 in pool play and find your way, in the Final Four of the ACC tournament.
a lot of meaningless
A lot of
games.
meaningless games. Yeah, I mean, where you're actually playing game two in the ACC tournament, and whether you win or lose, it 100% does not matter, which I don't really care for. So, what do you guys think about the single elimination format?
I like it.
I do too. I mean, you got so many teams. You just don't have time for double elimination
It's just
and
it's just
and a long weekend.
throwing too many arms. I mean, I guess you get in this debate all the time. Will you take an ACC championship over Omaha? I would take Omaha. And with a event situation, I don't know. No, I don't want anybody upset with me, but you don't want to go out there and throw your arms, all weekend and then go into the regional, half cocked, I guess, is what I'm saying. So I like single elimination, and I think as an ACC, as competitive as conference as it is, some other schools that dominate their conference, maybe they don't have to throw good arms early. So to me, this is a better situation, and I'm just not a give me to Omaha all day over ACC championship.
I mean, you look at
Yeah,
EC,
it's not the prize.
you
Right.
look at ECU, and certainly not picking on those guys, but they play a double elimination tournament in the American, isn't that right? And
Yes.
and then they grind it out, grind it out, grind it out, and then last year, they go to play. I think Evansville is who knocked ECU out and kept them out of Omaha again.
What seed was Evansville?
3 seed or 4
4.
seed? 4. They beat
Oh
Wake.
yeah, because
They beat
it
Wake
was in
Forest.
Greenville.
They beat Wake Forest and ECU.
It was in
Yeah.
Greenville.
Yeah.
The regional was in Greenville, and I mean to that the Evansville kid.
Yeah,
Deverman, the pitcher Deverman, he was throwing about 84, mile an hour fastball. They they couldn't touch him.
well, there were some people that even had Bryant picked in our regional last year, as the 4 coming out. Some of those guys on 11.7 had picked Bryant to come out of the Raleigh regional.
One of the things I do think about the ACC tournament, I also like the single elimination format because then every game matters. I do think where you finish in the ACC is critical because if you are a one seed, for example, you don't have to play until Thursday. Where if you are a 9 to 16 seed, you have to play on Tuesday. Excuse me, and having to play on Tuesday, you could theoretically come out of throwing one of your main guys, your weekend starter on Saturday, and you don't have that guy available on Tuesday. And then, again, you might have to go right back at it again on Wednesday. So it puts a lot more pressure, I guess, on those arms, which that's not really changed a whole lot by pool play, but it does kind of make it important. If you want to have a chance to win the ACC tournament, you really need to try and be a top 4 seed.
But what is I mean, if we went back and looked at the past 10 ACC champions in baseball, how far did they go? And I don't know the answer to that. Maybe there's a correlation between winning it and going to Omaha, but I don't think so. It doesn't seem that way on the surface.
But it will make for a lot more watchable college baseball tournament, especially for the casual fan who they're like, "What do you mean we lost and we're playing in the semifinals Saturday?" So
Where's it at? Where's it at this year?
I believe it's in Durham again.
Okay.
Yeah, it is in Durham, May 20th to the 25th. So it will be kind of exciting to see how that plays out. Anything else, guys, before we open it up with Fordham this weekend? I guess we have to predict. We kind of made a tradition of doing that. I'm going to go first. I think we're going to get a sweep this weekend, whether it's 2-0 or 3-0. I think we're going to sweep Fordham, and I will be mildly disappointed if we don't. Adam?
Same. I'd be very disappointed if we don't.
Yeah, I
If
agree.
we
I
don't,
think
if
it's
we
a
don't
sweep.
sweep it.
I think it's a sweep. And on another note, Cal, since we all agree it's a sweep in Raleigh this weekend, Topsail opens up against Wallace Rose Hill in the Jamboree
Whew.
on Saturday. So we got high school baseball opening up this weekend too. So everybody's excited about that.
Yeah, Wallace Rose Hill. That's my alma mater. I actually coached baseball there for 10 years. So man, when I was coaching, and won't beleaguer this much longer, but when I was coaching, the first year I was a head coach, we played Topsail in the 1A playoffs. Topsail High School down in Hampstead was a 1A high school. Are they 4A now, Wesley, or 3A? Or 5?
They're 4A.
Yeah, I mean, so
Pretty sure, yeah, they're 4A. Same conference as New Hanover and Ashley and Laney and all the Wilmington schools.
so a lot of people have moved to Hampstead over the last decade. All right.
We were talking. Hold on. We were talking about Fordham earlier, and I had looked it up. It said back in 1859, Fordham played in the first ever 9-man college baseball game under the current rules. Fordham won the game 33-11 and hasn't looked back. Fordham
Let's
has nearly a thousand more wins than the next winningest team, Texas. If the Rams never played another, and this article was written in 2019, but it says if the Rams never played another game of baseball after this season, it would take Texas 36 more years to become the winningest team at the current rate.
go.
That's wild.
It's like Notre Dame coming to the Doak this weekend, man.
We're welcoming absolute royalty.
The Four Horsemen.
Oh man! But they're the Cal. Another thing you mentioned was their third baseman last year. I did say D1 had him as a top 50 third baseman this year. I think he's like 42 or 43. So do have somebody to watch over there on the hot corner.
Yeah, good player. So I'm gonna keep going down this rabbit hole. Fordham, as of 2020, they had won 4,627 college baseball games. That's absolutely insane, isn't it? That is
1859. That's wild, man.
Anyway, Abraham Lincoln was playing first base for that crowd.
They had to pause for the. Well, hell, they were fighting for the other side.
Then they played the national anthem before the game. I mean, what did they play?
Oh man!
I bet their ass won't facing off against Alabama in 1859.
No.
No.
What a wild time to be alive.
Yeah.
All right. We will see you hopefully Sunday night. We apologize for being so late this weekend. Life kind of happened, and we've all been pretty busy.
Super Bowl.
Had the Super Bowl, and then Monday night
had to watch basketball.
Coach Litch had to coach up his girls teams this week, and I've been.
Oh man, I got it going on again tonight.
Look at it.
DeLand Little League 1951.
Did you win? Did y'all win?
No, we're still practicing. Game start Monday.
DeLand Little League, that is responsible for Larry Wayne Jones. Is that correct?
Junior.
Did Larry play in DeLand Little League?
Chipper, he did. Yeah, both fields that we play at are the Chipper Jones Sports Complex and the Chipper Jones Baseball. I don't know. They're both named after him.
Legend.
All right, see y'all Sunday, and go Pack.